Jack Ruby's America. See the man with the stage fright, just standing up there to give it all his might. He got caught in the spotlight, but when we get to the end, he wants to start all over again. The band, Stage Fright. Suddenly, I'm in a world of history. Jack Ruby. And here, now textured like a blotter, like the going years, and difficult to see, is where you are, and where I am, and where the oceans cover us. Weldon Keys, Travels in North America. Jack Ruby orders the chicken salad, November 21, 1963. You know how I need it, sweetheart. All my orders are to go. I'm the king of carry-out. Today I'm good for a dozen, half rye, half rolls. These are heading down to the station, so pile it on a little thick, okay? They know me there. I'm a regular, no baloney guy making sure the cops get a decent shot at lunch. You can't say I don't love Dallas, but still, give me Chicago. For cold cuts a man like me could die for. Hot pastrami, corned beef, tongue that doesn't quit. I go for sandwiches in a big way, a handful of goodwill folks can sink their teeth into. And people remember certain things. Don't get me started on how crazy it is sometimes to be me in Texas. But then I've always liked going out of my way if it lets me in on the action. When you're the one with sandwiches, you let other people do the talking. Just look who's talking now, right? I need sandwiches, I'm friendlier, so to speak. Human nature, if you ask me. I've studied it. I'm talking my whole life. Go ahead and ask me, is there anything I don't know about human nature? I'm here to tell you mostly it's not much. I'm talking one sorry load of chicken salad sandwiches bagged up in the front seat of a car in the Dallas sun at noon. You know it won't be long before it goes completely bad. And we're Texas, down here so deep in the heart that it's never been lip-smacking good to begin with. So what do I finally owe you? Here's a 20. Keep the change, and get yourself something later. Something you've always been meaning to. On me. I'm talking something extra. A little bit of trouble or excitement you don't really need. That we can live without either one, thank you, is no good reason. I'm talking America, getting whatever we deserve. Human nature, remember that. Remember me to the rest of the shift. I'll be back. I'm always coming back. And next time, you can cut the Mr. Jazz. Jack is good enough. The Chicago Cowboy. I have read from stories of personalities that are notorious. That is the extent of my involvement in any criminal activity. Ruby to Earl Warren, 1964. We could not establish a significant link between Ruby and organized crime. The Warren Commission report. It was 1947. Jack heard he'd be getting a call. After all these Windy City years, it was surely his time to go west, and he was thinking Los Angeles, maybe Vegas. He was thinking he was that important. Finally, they'd let him have his own piece of some sophisticated action. When the word came down he'd be heading to Dallas, Jack couldn't believe someone had him all wrong. His talents would be wasted in a nowhere town like that. The Chicago boys smelled Texas oil, and they were looking to control the wide-open gambling scene. They thought of Jack as a man who could handle the chump change, and would he please be good enough to dole it out as needed, making fast friends with the Dallas police. They promised he'd feel bigger down there, And Jack had to admit he liked the sound of that, even if down there was some kind of joke. He'd suck it in. He'd zip it up. He'd be their Chicago cowboy as long as he got his. He'd ask them to spring for a little velvet, something jazzy, in a white snap-brim hat. He could show them good, but they shouldn't count on Jack any more to be that good for nothing. 16 years later, there's not much left for Jack to think about. The Carousel Club, 1312.5 Commerce. The half's because he's one flight up, where rent's a little lower. The stenciled message on the stairway wall, a few steps closer to heaven, wasn't Jack's idea. The single, rectangular room wasn't quite the place he'd hoped for, either. He'd dreamed of a sumptuous club in the round, slowly revolving on the top floor of a tower, where some kind of breathtaking view was just a reservation away. Still, by his peculiar standards, he's made the most of it. Jet-black booths, dark red carpeting, gold mesh curtains. Over the bar, a squadron of gold crowns hanging from the ceiling. Jack liked the idea of working around those. From the moment he first walked in and took over the operation, he could see it wasn't called the Sovereign for nothing. And one enormous black velvet painting of a well-hung stallion in gold, Jack guaranteed the bartender who helped him nail it to the wall. The 3D effect is what makes it real class. His favorite word, class, is all he wants to be known for. This wouldn't be a joint, but a nightclub, and his girls would be dancers, hostesses, entertainers. Truly a man ahead of his euphemistic time, this sultan of schmooze, this kibitzer king with his homespun sense of nobility. And this is his low-rent kingdom. Welcome to the house that Jack built. If they complain about the $2 cover, tell them it's worth it just for an eyeful of the decor. We're fucking class on top of class in here. Before making a go of the Carousel, the Silver Spur, the ranch house, Hernando's hideaway, then enough of the Texas motifs. Let's try the Vegas, and of course the Sovereign. Jack had a rapid succession of dreams that didn't stick. But this is the one he can't seem to shake. The Carousel, sandwiched between the Weinstein Brothers Colony Club and the Theater Lounge, where every night is amateur night. And the Weinsteins have got Jack fuming. He's the one paying for professional talent, trying to keep up some thin veneer of class. He's been known to travel out of town just to recruit it. He's still trying to live up to the good name he's made for himself. Jacob Rubinstein's no proper name for a night spot operator. The reporters and cops come here to hang with Jack Ruby, club owner, producer, dispenser of small favors. Free drinks any time. If you ask Jack, he just can't help thinking of Dallas as one gigantic amateur night. In his heart, it's never been a city. Back when Chicago was nearly wiped out by fire, Dallas was barely on the map, too green to burn. It's still too new. There's no fire, there's nothing neighborhood about it. And Jack is neighborhood all the way. Do for you, do for me. No questions, no problem. He learned his lessons on solid concrete stoops, along miles of narrow fire escapes, in tenement backyard clothes-flapping breezes, where any street worth its name had something new to teach you. Like how you could finally manage to stand to your own full height and deliver. Even as a sawed-off kid, Sparky Rubinstein delivered sealed envelopes, a buck and errand for Capone's associates. He pushed keychains, bottle openers, knives from a cart, scalped tickets outside Soldiers Field, hustled peanuts during the game. He sold himself on helping others. Tip sheets at the races, carnations in the dance halls, awful chocolates in the Burlicue's raucous dark. Jack believes in what he insists on calling his orchestra. 4 sorry tuxedos sitting at the back of an otherwise naked stage. Ever since the night a musician bit off the tip of Jack's finger, there's been no love lost between Jack and the music. Still, he wants to do it up right. He's always looking for any cut above. More clothes are coming off to the sound of rock and roll records all over town. But where Jack's the master of ceremonies, he wants everything live. He's making his uneasy way through the crowd with a microphone in his hand when bang, out of nowhere, the drummer's rim shot. And good evening, he's our host, Jack Ruby, and we're not going to believe what he's planned for us this time. The best music Jack ever heard was in Havana. When he squeezes shut his eyes just right, he can still see the dazzling lights of the Tropicana after sundown. Now, that was a nightclub, cabaret, casino supreme, room after room of posh and glitz. No other action in the world came even close. In exchange for delivering some crates of unnumbered rifles and guns, Jack shot the Caribbean breeze with the wheels of the operation. Santo Trafficante, Carlos Marcello, and his particular heroes, Meyer Lansky and Brother Jake. As long as Batista could hold on, there would be the fabled Tropicana, where the insignificant likes of Abe and Barney Weinstein could be spots on the silverware. Everyone at the table knew what was coming if Castro moved in to stay. There goes the glittering neighborhood. But no one can take it away from Jack now. His few days in the Cuban sun, the bloody steaks a cut above, the umbrella drinks he never touched, but he liked how they were there for him. Trafficante himself nearly busting a gut when Jack played Conway Twitty air guitar on its only make-believe. And Jack soaked it in. He ate it all up, this living at last high off the hog, an honorary kosher Nostra boy. This afternoon, Jack's in his tiny carousel office, and his head is spinning. Along with the gunmetal gray desk, beat-up easy chair, and the hand-lettered sign on the wall, show some class. Now there's a safe Jack's actually had installed. For the man who's always kept his cash in brown paper sandwich bags or wadded thick in his pockets, who's never had a checkbook, who never cracks a smile when he calls his money dough, this may take some serious getting used to. He's on the phone, letting his attorney know he's just in from the Tropicana in Vegas, and he's got the simoleons to pay off his back taxes. And Jack is nearly giddy for Jack. He's off the hook again. He can keep his doors wide open for the indefinite future. They'd told him it was the least they could do, a small 40 grand favor he should consider more of a thank you for all the years in the Texas sun, for being there. And for a minute he almost dreams himself out of his cash-and-carry life. Jack's good for it, is what they'd said. For Dallas, for business, for the long green. Somewhere out west, he's sure he could be a real nightclub operator, A-listed party-goer, fedora sensation, confidant to the stars. But there's no time off for good behavior in the Lone Star State, and the Chicago cowboy will be right back where he's always been. Would-be high roller in a rumpled suit, in precarious business for himself again, a few steps short of heaven. 1312 and a half commerce, halfway between the police station and the county jail. A rock and a hard place kind of thing, he jokes nightly at the mic. The cops drink free and barely pay attention. But except for the Weinstein brothers, Jack's never minded being in the middle, if there's any action. So plug him in and light him up. Full of his misguided sense of decorum, he's about to go out there again and try shooting off his mouth full of cornball gratitude in front of another crowd that isn't here to listen. They've paid their deuce apiece for girls, 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 and who's Jack Ruby to insinuate himself into such a straightforward arrangement? He's learned one thing over and over again in his obligated life. There's no way he can really help himself. Jack Ruby talks business with the new girl, November 21, 1963. I will say this only once to you, I promise. Business is business. It's nothing personal. All business is good business. You heard of selling the sizzle, not the steak? Be sure you're only sizzle, nothing but. They're hungrier than that, they can beat it somewhere else. I run this place so clean, some nights people hear it squeak. Smile all you want, but no life stories ever. I never knew a smile that hurt, but keep your real name to yourself. And when you hear whatever name you're going by tonight, it's your turn to dance. And you dance with class like nobody's business. You make your entrance, hit your mark, and get it done. And let's face it, the music isn't much, but it's all yours. Do what you can. And somebody thinks he knows how to soften you up with sweet talk or a roll of bills. Remember, you always know better. This is no business to make that kind of mistake in. Take it from me, you don't want to walk into anything you can't talk your innocent enough way out of. And if there's trouble you didn't see coming, don't worry. That's what I'll be out there looking for. I may be incognito, just another hat in the crowd, but if you want to know the truth, all you have to do is ask. You say, Jack, and I swear I'll come through. Say the word, and some guy's good as dead. He'll learn fast. Guys like him are our business, and who we are is really none of his. As long as you're working for me, you're covered. Partners, no matter how it has to mostly seem. Yeah, you're the one who's out there at point-blank range, but I will never leave you twisting in the wind, whichever way it's blowing that night, alone in any of this business. The difference a day makes. You guys all know me. I'm Jack Ruby, to the policeman who wrestled him to the floor after he shot Oswald. You can get more out of me. Let's not break up too soon. I have been used for a purpose, but it can't be said here. Unless you get me to Washington, you can't get a fair shake out of me. Dallas is a homicidal town. Ruby to Earl Warren. When the motorcade hits Dealey Plaza, Jack's 5 blocks away, at the Dallas Morning News, placing an ad for the carousel. He'd be at the parade, but he's already pushing the paper's Friday at noon deadline, and these days he has to pay up front for everything. In the composing room, a portable TV can barely contain the breaking news. Jack can't believe anyone would whack a president in this kind of broad daylight. He's stunned, but undeniably excited, racing to Parkland Hospital. He always knows the shortest route to any spectacle in Dallas. There's bound to be some serious action going down there, and he wants to be one of the first to find out if Kennedy's going to make it. And if not, should he close his club? It would be the gentlemanly, graceful thing to do. And for how many goddamn nights? He's there in time to hear the doctor pronouncing death. A black eye for the city, Jack says to the man standing next to him. And why does it have to be the weekend, when things are smoking most in his business? A Saturday is worst of all to lose. His ad's already paid for, true, but surely, for Jack Ruby, they can turn it into something more respectful, closed or in memoriam. Whatever's classy. He's up to his neck in this historic moment. No club he's put over half his heart or money into, voluntarily, has been dark for even a single night. He hopes those unpatriotic Weinstein brothers, in their greed, stay open for everyone to see. It's way past dark when Jack makes one of his trademark stops at Phil's Delicatessen. A dozen corned beef sandwiches, a dozen bottles of celery tonic. He's jawing to the counterman. In my mind, suddenly it mulled over me that the police were working overtime. So to speak. An impossibly detailed description of the suspect, Oswald, was circulating scant minutes after the fatal shots were fired. 75 minutes later, he's hauled out of a movie theater, a matinee showing of Audie Murphy's War is Hell, and this day in Dallas has been that kind of war. President assassinated, governor wounded, a mail-order rifle and shell casings found in the book depository. An Officer Tippit gunned down miles from Dealey Plaza, supposedly with a mail-order Smith & Wesson .38 in the hands of this scrawny, omnipresent 24-year-old ex-Marine. And something about Russia and fair play for Cuba, and Jack is still waiting for his order and thinking out loud, it's in-fucking-credible. How fast they're fitting all these pieces together, how much news there really is. And Foot Soldier Jack wants in before this war is over. He's not too proud to buy his usual position up at the front line. From way back, he's been an enlisted man with a bad haircut, but he can dream, can't he? No shit, it's been a nightmare, Phil, and my goddamn feet are killing me. He means this day in Dallas, how it just doesn't quit. Jack steps off the elevator at midnight, and cockeyed luck is with him. He's being swept along through the crowded hall to the Dallas PD's basement assembly room, where Oswald's about to be put on display, so the rumors that this prisoner's been in any way manhandled can be laid to rest. In this blur of wingtip shoes that's passing for history's forward momentum, no one's about to stop Jack Ruby. In his dark suit and customary snap brim, Jack could almost be a plainclothes detective. He's standing on a table in the back, craning his neck, making notes like a reporter. He could be mistaken for either one, and for the moment he's having it both ways. The time of his imaginary life. He's correcting the district attorney, who's just mentioned Oswald and Castro and a Free Cuba Committee. That's fair play for Cuba Committee. Don't these guys ever listen, at least to the news? And now comes his first good look at Oswald, himself. He seems so small, so lost in this crowd, as if he'd be a lot happier right now giving a souped-up Chevy the gas and gunning down Main Street until there's nothing but the day ahead. Even his matter-of-fact, I'm a patsy, is all but swallowed up in this ricochet of questions, the crossfire of self-congratulation. And no matter where he finds himself, this is Jack's time of night. A few more minutes and Oswald's gone. Show's over, but Jack is in no big hurry to leave. He likes being awake at this hour, with his usual roll of cash and loaded snub-nose in his pocket. And this evening's no exception. Yes, he should be considered armed, but not real dangerous tonight. He's pressing the flesh with the out-of-town reporters, handing out his Jack Ruby, your host at the Carousel calling cards. And they should try to stick around a few days. He can make it worth their time. The drinks are on him when the club reopens, when all the Dallas hoopla finally dies down, and Jack can make it his business again to give folks a little something they can't get at home. A taste of pizzazz and a shot of hubba hubba. And when the reporters ask, can they quote him on that, he says, of course, he does it all the time himself. Jack's too wound up to sleep. His heart is thumping to a tune he can't begin to carry, especially not here at 4 a.m., but at least Friday's over in America. Officially, it's a new day that finds Jack in the main office of the Dallas Times-Herald, showing off his latest surefire get-rich-quick scheme, the Twister-sizer, a $5 exercise gimmick based on what's left of the dance craze, a platform the size of a bathroom scale set on 70 ball bearings. Jack steps up and he swivels, he shimmies, he's turning in every direction at once, a squat 180 pounds of wobbling centrifugal force. He's trying to get dibs on its national distribution. So are there any questions he can answer? How many are they good for? He's in a crowded, smoke-filled room again, but this time Jack is the only reason. These people need some kind of relief about now. A few of them are laughing until they hurt, until it only looks like crying. They never knew what this guy was going to think of next. And Jack's laughing too, like there's no tomorrow. He needs buyers right now for whatever he's selling. He can't keep spinning this way forever. Another night's taking a sharp turn into the next morning, in the middle of his life, and Jack's still going. He's hanging on. He's trying not to lose his balance. Jack's collapsed on his living room sofa in whatever version of sleep sheer nervous exhaustion allows him. Something happened this Saturday afternoon that turned him around and upside down, bringing out the hangdog he keeps shut up inside, his garrulous, showboating self. He hasn't done anything yet, but he's hiding out finally where no one would ever think to look. Jack Ruby is unbelievably home, and he's holding up here until morning. He shouldn't have answered the phone ringing off the hook at the Carousel. He was only there because where else is he supposed to be? This time the police were looking for him. They were actually asking for the pleasure of his company. They were passing down the word that sounded suspiciously like the word that sent him from Chicago to Dallas in the first place. And Jack has 40,000 reasons why he'll still be good enough. If he doesn't get it done, he's as good as dead. He's got a feeling stranded and uncelebrated forever in Dallas. Maybe this can be at last his parting shot, his ticket out. With no warning, he's in way over his head. But he's in, God damn it. He's in. And in a flash he sees who the cops are working for. He can only imagine the months of rehearsing that went into this one show only in Dealey Plaza. The only flub, apparently, was Oswald, who never understood his part to begin with. One more hapless actor asking whoever's directing, "What's my motivation?" Now he's absolutely off the script, and who knows what he'll say with the cameras rolling. So here's where Jack comes in. Last minute bit part addition, a walk-on to end all walk-ons. And he can be a real quick study when he has to. It's the weekend's sudden acceleration. In a matter of seconds, Jack goes from knowing zero to knowing just enough to be dangerous tomorrow. He'd rather be smack in the middle of another carousel Saturday night, bouncing some unruly asshole down the stairs if he had to, okay, but that guy would always manage to pick himself up off the ground and get on with the rest of his no-account life. Jack's turning over and over in his sleep. There's no way he'll ever get comfortable tonight. Maybe it's just another bad dream. This owner he knew years ago from a competing club is slash bad in a fight. Jack hustles down to Parkland again to donate some of his own blood. And when the guy wakes up, there's Jack at his bedside, shaking his head and whispering, "Well, I guess we're partners now." Jack's always taken pride in working alone, but he can't tell if the Jack in the dream is only kidding. And it's getting all mixed up with the episode of Gunsmoke on the TV Jack never turned off. Now he's in a crowded saloon, pushing past Marshal Matt Dillon and his gimpy-legged deputy, Chester B. Good. He's looking around desperately for the high sign from some flunky at the bar, but before the bad guy of the week can make it through the swinging doors, Miss Kitty smiles and drops her skirt, and everyone in the place can see she's packing enough heat to kill any man several times over. And Jack is sweating a lot by now. He's reaching deep into his pocket for one of his carousel cards. He needs a new headliner with genuine star power, some undeniable class, and they should discuss what's possible after whichever one of them gets to Oswald first. This whole thing could turn out all right, he's guessing. In the bargain, there's a chance he could be treated like some kind of hero, and he'd be saving Jackie the emotional expense of coming back to Dodge for the trial. He can almost see it now. There goes the Chicago cowboy riding off into the credits, heading north again into a long winter of television snow. The good people of Dallas are going to church or, forgivably, staying home this one Sunday to watch the TV coverage of America's ceremonial grief. Today the cortege will leave the White House, making its darker anti-motorcade way up Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol Rotunda. There's not a chance Jack's staying home to be any part of that. He waited hours by his phone for someone to call this whole thing off, but he's long gone now. He's been to Western Union, wiring money to his pregnant dancer in Fort Worth. The entire carousel crew, except for Jack, is out of work for the weekend, and little Lynn especially could use the tiding over. Jack's hoping to use his generosity later as the reason he's downtown at all, coincidentally with his cash and a loaded gun. Wherever he is right now, he's only protecting himself. He's carrying $2,000. He's wired Lynn $25. His Western Union receipt says 11/17, and he'll say he wasn't even thinking about the police station 1 block away until he finished his transaction and figured it was Sunday. What the hell, he had a little extra time to kill and his surplus curiosity, and how's he supposed to know that the ballyhooed 10 a.m. transfer of Oswald from the city lockup to the county jail had been delayed? Let them all think Jack's too late for any premeditation. This is his only chance. It's got to play out as a stroke of dumb luck, good or bad, depending as always on where you're standing. Spontaneous is the word he's looking for. Jack's walking down from Western Union to the station right now. The preludin he swallowed no doubt quickens his step. He'll be there in 90 seconds. Not that Jack really needs the extra stimulation, but for months he's been telling his doctor all the good it does him. I'm a positive thinker. I don't have any inferiority, and my reflexes are fan-fucking-tastic. And Jack is positive no one's going anywhere quite yet. Finally, there's a party in Dallas that won't be starting without him. He's wearing a white shirt, black silk tie, his best charcoal brown suit, black shoes, and gray fedora. Pretty spiffy for nothing more than a casual errand. He knows exactly where he's been headed all along. This is one of Jack's special detective get-ups. He read a sidebar in yesterday's paper. In 1901, the Buffalo, New York police, worried about a hostile crowd, sneaked out President McKinley's assassin by dressing him as a cop. Surely Jack can turn that around with ease. He's practically an honorary cop already, so what could it hurt to take that approach himself today, sneaking in? Appearances are deceiving, but only if you're willing to work at them. Jack bathes and shaves twice daily. It's like getting one more crack at the same gritty day. He pampers his skin with lotions and creams. He swims and works out when he can at the Y. He's always operated on the notion that what's on the outside makes or breaks a person in this world. What's inside may be an entirely different story, and even that one changes a little every time it's told. What's inside Jack's white two-door 1960 Oldsmobile this morning? 2 sets of metal knuckles, the holster for his pistol, a paper bag stuffed with another $1,000, a stash of unpaid parking tickets, several white handkerchiefs for the show of sweat Jack always manages doing the simplest things. A white bathing cap, a left golf shoe, a roll of toilet paper, 1 can of paint, a low-cal chocolate shake. Days of newspapers full of Kennedy's impending visit, but folded open to the pages with the nightclub ads. A notebook listing the names and numbers of cops with lifetime free passes to the carousel. And Sheba, Jack's beloved dachshund, who goes everywhere with him, to work, back home, to favorite all-night restaurants. I call her my wife. We argue, and we make the hell up. She's his stroke of genius ace in the premeditation hole. No one would believe he'd ever leave her waiting in the car unless really he had no idea what he was about to do. Part of him doesn't believe it himself, and it's all he can do to walk away and not look back. But the main thing Jack hopes anyone would notice is the snazzy wash and wax job. As far as he's concerned today, anything beyond that is no one else's business, anybody's guess. This morning, Jack's getting in free. When he arrives in the basement garage at 11:19, he hears a car horn honking from the top of the exit ramp. It's shave and a haircut, 2 bits. A phone call goes up to the 3rd floor, where Oswald's squirming into the sweater he'll wear for the transfer. Everything's in place below. It's time to put this show into motion. But truthfully, so much is utterly out of place. Reporters are hopelessly mixed in with the police, who are supposed to fall into a protective human corridor formation when Oswald's finally escorted to what they're calling the getaway car for his painstaking ride back to Dealey Plaza and the county jail 12 risky blocks from here. And that car's nowhere in position at the bottom of the ramp, but Jack is. No badge, no press credentials, but he's on official business nonetheless, and the cops have let him get this far, at least in this roughhouse ballet of synchronized movements. This is going like dime store clockwork. Oswald's coming down in the elevator. Jack's moving along the railing, one hand in his pocket, the other at the brim of his fedora. The Klieg lights have cast everyone down here in their most unflattering light, and Jack's trying hard to concentrate on his small piece of the action. He'll have only a single take to hit his mark, deliver, and get lost. And Oswald's off the elevator, headed toward the cameras. He's walking Jack's way, expressionless, a detective on his left arm, another manacled to his right wrist. And it's just a crazy, fleeting thought, but Jack can't help thinking, what a sharp cut of cream-colored suit the handcuffed detective's wearing. The gun's out of his pocket by now, and he's pushing irretrievably forward, a few more feet, until there's nothing between himself and Oswald in his crummy thrift store sweater that can possibly save them. And Jack's holding his arm straight out, as if he's about to hand over a gift or ask for an autograph, but instead there's this irrevocable pop as he unloads his single shot at point-blank range. Two men have just gone down so close together in the crowd that at first it's hard telling who's who, but one of them is smaller, down for good. They're giving him artificial respiration, the worst idea in the world, considering where that sudden bullet's lodged. They're doing their best to restrain the other man, giving him some half-assed third degree, as if he's really listening. The last he knew, he's among friends here. He's pissed they've knocked him down, and wears his fedora. This isn't the way he pictured it going. They're treating Jack Ruby like a perfect stranger in their midst, and there's a sickening feeling coming on strong in Jack's stomach, too. He's only trying to get away with the rest of his life, but not so fast. There are still too many questions, and no one's going anywhere but down again today. Jack Ruby spends his last New Year's Eve with his sister, telling the truth as he knows it. Parkland Hospital, December 31, 1966. So ask me, how many times did I know anything really in this life? Ask me, did anyone ever bother handing over anything I could use? These days almost no one recognizes me. Up here on the 6th floor, I'm jack shit in a bathrobe. And the doctors making their hypodermic rounds are claiming everything's for the pain, as if that's what they're trying to get rid of. I'm not supposed to realize they're delivering more of the cancer, because obviously someone out there still thinks enough of me to want me gone, especially now with my conviction overturned. And instead of getting the chair, I'm down for a new trial out of town, somewhere that isn't Dallas. These last 3 years, that's all I've asked for. Let's go someplace else and talk. I should live so long. I'd say a few things so good they'd stay said that way forever. 3 years go by, and I'm not your same brother. I'm related to history now, condemned to keep repeating myself until someone finally listens. I want to put things right, but not here. After that sorry Oswald collapsed, I admitted doing it, to show the world that Jews have guts, or to spare the widow Jackie another trip to Dallas. At the time, I was shooting for impulsive or sympathetic, reasons enough, it turns out, to convict me anyway. By now, someone's decided everything I said clearly should have been inadmissible. My lawyer, Belli, tried to sell the jury I'm a victim of psycho-something epilepsy. All you need to know is blackouts, Jack. Hell, I wouldn't buy that myself if Jesus Christ was giving it away on the courthouse steps. It took the jury less than an hour to figure, of course, I'm guilty, and what else could they say? No one in that courtroom was expecting an order of death, but that's what the jury recommended. I could have gone for something lighter that early in the morning. Death seemed a little much. Real guts would have been telling Marcello's guys to shoot their craps in hell when they called me, of all people, wanted me to know some unsuspecting putz I'd never heard of in my life had failed to leave the country fast enough, or else, by sheer coincidence, you understand, get taken out himself. Instead, he'd been brought in by the wrong cops, unexpectedly, alive. Lee fucking Oswald, another one of history's 3 named nut jobs. And I could feel it slipping away, that moment he was still their unfortunate problem more than he was mine. They were thanking me already for remembering who I should gladly thank for being still alive in the nightclub business. And this is when I figure out what's going on for myself. It's not some half-cocked flake on the loose by himself in Dealey Plaza. And this is when I know I've got to take the play. If I don't, all kinds of things get taken from me, fast. And I know people in this town who would never be able to get enough of that. Yes, sirree, hitting a Catholic boy's not bad at all, but can we still get us a Jew? I came out of fucking nowhere, and I've been working my way back ever since. But there's no way I'm about to die even close to guilty in the eyes of the law. I've been reversed for 2 months now, and it's as if what happened never happened. My part of it, at least. I'm almost beside the point. I said it before. I'm history. I'll stay written down forever in the Warren Commission report. 26 books it took those guys to dish out all the bullshit required to conclude what they already had in their made-up minds to begin with. Oswald. Only Oswald. Once they've got that down cold, the only Ruby part's a snap. I've got my own magic bullet theory, and this one you can take to the bank. It's not any single shot zigzagging through Kennedy and Connolly, opening 7 wounds and breaking bones along the way before finally emerging as Warren Commission Exhibit 399 when it's found hours later, pristine on a stretcher here at Parkland. My theory says it's the bullet all of us have to bite sooner or later, like our lives depend on it. A kind of making do, getting by this shaky way or that, even if we'd rather not. It's nothing that goes through us and comes out clean on the other side. It's whatever we have to go through, ourselves, at midnight or high noon, with no one watching. And when a few minutes go by, or days, or years of actually feeling free, in the clear, like we've dodged another round of trouble and maybe we can get back to business as usual, here comes that unmistakable bullet with our names on it again. Just like in the cartoons, now it's changing directions, about to hit us one more time in the ass. And that means one more time we'll have to swear we never saw it coming. So, happy fucking New Year, sis. How about you try the Ritz? Or maybe Phil's for some pastrami, corned beef on rye with a few extra kosher dills. Bagels and cream cheese, lox and green onions. I say, bring it all on. This is still America, last time I checked. And who knows? Maybe I'm still strong enough to keep a lot of it down. You tell them you're there for Jack Ruby, and how much I appreciate that. Tell them make it lean, because Jack Ruby did everybody at least one favor in his life. Tell them what I told you. More than ever, I'm history. But I was there for them, too. And if your order's not completely on the house after all of that, you tell them if it's not asking for too damn much for all the business your brother's done his part to keep them in, maybe he could get finally a little credit this one time. Only make it sound better, okay? Make me sound better, not so small. You're so good to me it hurts. Play it however you want to. But you never even thought about any of this, let alone discussed it with me or anyone else, until you saw that, to your surprise, they were still open on New Year's Eve, and you walked through the door.